Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Welcome to the epitome of laziness, because between me and Brad had some shit go down in his kung fu class. Wore him out today, and I have been worn out today. I'm getting over this thing with my chest and sinuses, and I've been going back and forth all day doing the retail Christmas thing in multiple places. So I was gonna not do the stream, but then I'm like, we'll hit the button. Nobody shows. We'll hit the other button that ends the show. This is in 9 minutes it'll be Sunday. So you guys will be in the next 24 hours. You're going to be seeing me 3 times. Once now, and at 6 p.m. live Sunday, December 7th, we are going to be watching it. Welcome to Derry live as it airs. So we're going to be watching that, and then a couple hours later, we're going to have our Sunday night weekend wrap-up show, which will basically tackle all the things that we would have talked about on the Saturday overnighter. A lot of it's still going to be Netflix, WB questions. I understand that. We're going to celebrate the 45th anniversary of the release of Flash Gordon, which was Friday, but it's this weekend, so we'll still celebrate that. I got some comic book things I want to talk about then. Then we'll do some open panel stuff. But yeah, we'll. I don't feel as guilty for not having an overnighter tonight because I don't feel 100%. Like I said, when this allergy thing starts here, it's a preemptive war for me. I must defeat it before it gets here. It got here a little bit, but not as bad as it does when I don't attack the shit out of it. So yeah, that's what it cost me sleep. And this I cannot get sick. I cannot get sick right now for Christmas. I mean, I can get sick on New Year's Day. Not. I got too much going on. So, how's everybody doing this morning? I know my Aussie is in there. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Brad is not here. Yeah, Brad had something go down. So something happened. He wasn't going to make it tonight. He let me know. But like I said, didn't mind too bad because remember he's on 3 hours time. So, how you doing, Stecca? It's looking likely that James Gunn will stay. Well, yeah, he got his according to reports I heard, he got a contract extension to 2027. That's all I know. Spring of 2027. And I know people were like, well, that's what you wanted, William. I'm like, that's not a long time, guys. We're 3 weeks away from being in 2026. So if we're talking spring of 2027, that's a year and a half, maybe. That's not enough time to give me the confidence that we're not going to have the rug pulled out of him. Like I said last night, and I'll say everywhere, all I want here in this situation is what I didn't get out of the DCEU, which is to have my time wasted. My time is very valuable. Time is very valuable. and I don't want to spend years on getting enthralled in something just to have a new sheriff come in town and blow it up. I understand that there will be changes with Netflix. I just don't know what changes are, and I don't think there needs to be changes in that division. But I've heard rumors about Dan Lin being in his streaming van, which if I'm James Gunn and I signed anything, I have to have the same circumstances that I had under WB if that happens. So, but we're a year away from the finalization of that anyway, and to me, his extension lines up with when the new people will be taking power. If we're talking about 9 months, 12 months for all these hurdles to be crossed when it comes to the merger or the acquisition, then you're talking about once that's done, then they take over, and then you have them moving their people into wherever, and then his contract's up. If you look at the time of his contract extension and when this whole thing would end, it lines up. So I'm not real sure. I see no reason to disrupt anything. They don't need to, but hey, who knows? Yeah, it's his dad's birthday. He posted a picture of his dad, and then looked like Brad was from Corvette Summer in 1977. So, oof. Well, no, he said he had a sick kid at the dojo or something like that, and then he ended up having to clean it. It got gross though. I don't know. You got your email from Netflix today? Yeah, I got it on air last night. It's hilarious. I've heard everyone got the email from Netflix. It's just telling you that just updating you on the news today that they're buying it. That nothing's changing with Netflix right now, and then the Warner Brothers people are saying nothing's changing from WB. I've heard a lot of the skies falling, and I don't believe Ted Sarandos is Netflix, and people I love and respect, but I think we're jumping the shark right now. I continue to say, could they do that? Yeah, I don't. We're looking at Netflix in terms of what we know about Netflix as a singular entity. When you're talking about acquiring Warner Brothers, you're talking about something different. None of that applies. I don't give a fuck what Ted Sarandos said about where he thinks about the box office and all that. The business will decide where that goes. And to be honest with you, I don't think that it's worth it for them to purchase a company and hack it up like a lot of people are panicking about. I just don't see that happening. The value in Warner Brother right now is intact as whole. As far as the shortening the movie windows, like I said last night, the percentage of people who see a movie that they want to see within the first 2 weeks is high. That fourth week, I'm not. I don't. To me, that doesn't bother me. The movies I want to see, I don't wait for streaming. I go to the movies. And people are like, well, give it a chance to breathe. No, in my opinion, if you rotate that movie in, you get your money from that movie, and you have another movie. These screens are not. When you walk up to a theater, it doesn't say AMC unlimited screen. It says AMC 16, AMT 18, Century 18. It's that number tells you how many screens they got. So there are not infinite screens to be sitting on a movie that is not making as much money as a movie that you could have in the first 2 weeks. And you're talking about some of these studios will be moving out one movie and putting in another in some cases. So I'm not. I know people panic and pee in their pants about, why 2 weeks is going to be the end of it. No, it's not. I doubt it's going to be 2 weeks for most of these movies. But you also have to realize that they can make adjustments as well. They can make adjustments as well. If they see a movie may have legs, they can make those adjustments. They can move that dial down. But the decision should be made on the numbers and the business, not necessarily on what people's sentimental experiences is when it comes to theatrical goes. Because to be honest with you, it has to be a balance somewhere. Ted Sarandos didn't bring us here. The customer brought us here. So, yeah, that's what a lot of those changes are going on. Be right back. Hold on. damn allergies. Berto Gonzalez. Oh, Jesus. Berto Gonzalez, Netflix wants to focus more on standalone stories for DC rather than a cinematic universe. He said to see Matt Reeves' Batman go into Marvel. Well, I know who that is, and I don't, there's been a lot of issues with that guy, of course, sometimes, but that's fine. I'm just gonna go on what makes sense to me. I guess that's the best way I'll answer it there. Anana Vendetta. It makes all the sense in the world. And now I've been consistent on this as far as just one universe at a time is bullshit. I've taken a lot of heat for that. We gotta let this guy cook. We can't have this happening because this guy has to get the fuck out of here with that. I fucking hate that. It makes us fans feel like we're stupid and can't comprehend multiple things. DC has made that mistake over and over again. So if I'm Netflix, it would be malfeasance if they don't do their own DC thing. They have an entire demographic that is not necessarily the same as the theater going demographic. And they're starting to widen that gap between each other. I stopped thinking fans are stupid. Well, gee, they're not going to let him do that. They're the bosses now. They own it all. If they want to put DC content on Netflix, original DC content, they can go ahead and do it, and they should do it. And that should have no bearing on what James Gunn or whoever's running DC Studios is doing. Two entirely different audiences, maximize the use of that IP. So if that is the truth, if that is what's really going down, Vendetta, then I'm just going to call you Vendetta because it's just too many syllables for me to say his name. Then I'm okay with that. That's what I've been preaching for quite a while now. One universe, one Batman, one Superman shit at a time was bullshit. It's always been bullshit. It has never been consistent with what DC is. I can walk into my store right now and I can pick up Detective Comics. I can pick up Batman. I can pick up Batman White Knight. I can pick up all these things, all these people telling different stories, different type of things, some of them in different universes. And guess what? I can grab an absolute Batman, which is a complete different universe. We are not pea-brains. So if you have the apparatus to use the IP on different formats, do so. Do so. They should have been doing this already. I always advocated these Warner Brothers, a star of cash from Warner Brothers at one time, to license these things out. And it's not even touching on the whole sell whatever thing. This is just basic common sense as far as you have an audience, you have a demo. This isn't going on our big screen. You're going directly to streaming to this. You have an audience for this. Utilize that IP. And guess what? Turns out fans aren't stupid. They figured out the Batman wasn't the one that they had seen before. They figured out the giant lizard Godzilla that was released 4 months away from Godzilla -1 was the same lizard, different story, different era. We can figure this out. So I will be happy if that's the case. But I also expect more Earthsworth shows. Yep. This is what, like I said, guys, I'm not just saying this because this is happening. If you have watched this show, because I know that you might, I haven't seen your name in that forum, but if you want to go back and watch, I don't do the whole receipt thing, but if you want to go back and watch, go all the way back to even Enoch, go back to Poindexter Lounge. I have advocated for DC telling Elseworld stories for years now, and it's a goddamn shame that it's taken them this long to do it. So I'm happy to hear this. I hope that aspect of it is true. A lot of people from the far left, far right are having hits of it over Netflix. But yeah. And everybody's saying, well, the regulars are going to stop this. No, they're not. No, they're not. In the next year, guys, all these people who are whining and hissy-fitting about this, and even the unions, and I'm not saying they don't have cause for concern, but I don't think their cause for concern is going to stop this from happening. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of meetings with the WGA. You're going to have a lot of meetings with the producer. You're going to have a lot of meetings with the Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA. You're going to have a lot of meetings with a lot of people, and this is what's going to happen during this year. A lot of these concerns and conversations we ain't going to see or hear about are going to get dealt with. Deals will be made. Assurances will be made. Collective bargaining will be part of that. So, yeah, are there a lot of hurdles? Sure. But you jump those hurdles. You cross those hurdles. That's all. Congress has concerns. Okay, so you call, you sit down, Tetrarandos, take your happy ass up to Capitol Hill, and you sit down with the congressmen and congresswomen that have concerns, and you meet them halfway. You meet SAG-AFTRA halfway. You do all these things, you know, and stop, with the whole sky is falling thing. Is like, oh, it's the end of the theatrical experience. Stop it, all right? Not yet, at least. And even if it's not, I don't think it's going to be that way ever, to be honest with you. Once again, the Netflix that you know is not the Netflix we're talking about. We're not talking about Netflix that doesn't have a Warner Brothers distributor studio at their behest now. Everything that everybody is saying about Netflix and all your fears are attached to Netflix as they are now. Once this happens, that is not the same company. They don't need to to transform Warner Brothers into something else. They have Netflix for that. So those meetings, all these people are saying that, it's going to do this and this, that. And I'm like, I don't, and I'm not even taking Ted Sarandos at his word. I'm just looking at the dynamics of it. It doesn't make sense for a lot of the things that people are afraid of happening to happen. Much of what people think is going to happen out of this whole fear thing devalues Warner Brothers to the point where it's not even worth them purchasing it. So let's slow down. Some of the stuff may happen. Could Tetrarandos climb onto the Empire State Building and say, fuck everybody, fuck the theaters? Doubt that's going to happen. Anything could happen, but I don't see it happening. It doesn't make any sense right now, unless I'm missing something. Yeah, he is. He's a 50-50, I guess, but I have heard through other sources, but I haven't really put a nail in it because it's from people that are 50-50. And I'm not saying anybody's lying. Some of these scoopers are as good as the information they have access to. And not every, sometimes they just don't have the complete picture. But that being said, that's what he's saying, what he's speculating, is what should have been happening for years now. Like I said, one universe at a time. And every time I heard a fanboy or another YouTuber say, well, they're not going to do this one, James Gunn's doing this. Get the fuck, leave the fucking planet on a spaceship and just don't come back until you figure it out. That was always the stupid way to go. You're too stupid to know that the Batman on the big screen is not the Batman on the TV show. You're too dumb to know that the Flash on the silver screen is not the Flash that's on your streaming service. You're that stupid. I don't think you're that stupid. Am I the only one that gives fans credit for not being as stupid as everybody else thinks they are? Come on now. No. I need you to rephrase your sentences. We're talking about what we do know about. I don't have I don't have a record here and talking about things that I don't know about. And the things we don't know about, we'll discuss them too as speculation, but that's about it. The only things that we're coming up with right now are the things that we know about. And the the ramifications of that. You don't have to know everything going on in the deal to know that there's going to be fallout, that there's going to be ripple effects. Some of them predictable, some of them unpredictable. That's what a show like this is for, sort of, Son of, isn't 2 weeks the deciding factor on a movie did well at box office? Because people always talk about opening box office. Yeah, in my experience, the people who are tracking these numbers, and that's why a lot of the guys who don't have their streaming dates set, they wait for that second week to see what the percentage is. And you notice some things get yanked, or they see the screens get decreased because they have other movies to go in. But I don't know too many movies that I like. If I'm waiting till week 3 to see your movie, I probably barely want to see it to begin with. This speed. There's a difference between too many and just enough. More than one. If you're going to have any kind of diversity, more than one. DC Comics has several cooks in the kitchen, and they do just fine. So, it's not too Batman universe confusing. You don't need to stretch out interest. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't know what the interest level is, though. You got to be careful from your point of view or somebody running Netflix or DC. You as a fan, what do you know? What do you know? I know a little bit because of what I'm selling, but even I don't have that gauge. Only the person who has access to those audience numbers and those interests will be able to know about that. I mean, I'm not saying have about 1,000 Batman, but 2 is fine. And how is 2 versions of the same character going to inundate anything if they're both good? Now, if you're putting out shit, yeah, there's a problem. That's going to be a problem with anything. But once again, you're assuming that the Netflix audience gives a shit about what goes on the big screen, since they may primarily be a stay-at-home audience, and you're assuming that the people on the big screen are Netflix enthusiasts. So if I have 2 distinct audience, how am I stretching out the interest? I mean, there has to be a balance of what where. The story should dictate how many stories you tell, not that kind of concern, because you're going to know your demographics before you even go. And I'm really suspecting that the person who is a loyal Netflix devotee that makes them that $4 billion a month is not necessarily the same people that are the primarily theater going people. You may have some overlap, but you're going to have enough distance between the two to where you have enough distinct demographics to please both. I don't think that's a concern there, dude. You're tired of Batman, but Batman's what pays the bills. You know, I can respect your opinion, but you also have to understand you're an outlier. You don't represent the masses when it comes to Batman. I mean, that's not a William opinion. That's fact. Go anywhere you need to go. Do that. Batman pays the bills. So yeah, that's going to a store to pick up a comic, ordering multiple comics is the same thing as going to your theater. General audience don't think about film enthusiasts. They don't think like you do either. You got to realize your opinions don't line up with anybody I know, for the most part. I don't know who you're gauging. I know that's how you feel. I don't know if you send 50 to 100 people a month to a movie and gauge their responses. I don't know where you're getting this from, to be honest with you. I can respect your opinion as it is fourth 1,000 opinion. I can't use your opinion for anybody outside of you because it's not consistent with anything I've ever seen. You're talking about you're talking about general audiences that they're monolithic. You have general audience, then you have general audience that are split up into different graphics. So I don't know if you have the proper sampling to be able to say this and have it mean something outside of how you feel. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, and long story short, we're just not stupid. A, we're not stupid, and B, you can't assume that just like that the Batman is not a glove that fits everybody. There are people whose viewing habits and preferences go for one thing, and people whose viewing habits. And when you have this kind of platform that is distinctly different, Warner Brothers Studios and Netflix are not the same. And they have different audiences. Yes, there's overlap, but there is enough real estate there to aim in 2 directions. And I think that's what they're going to end up doing, to be honest with you. It's over for them, but you want to juggle 2 versions of parallel timeline while they go, what? Who's them? I guess we need to start at who's them. Who is them? Warner Brothers, HBO Max is going to do their things, and if Netflix decides they're going to do something, they're going to do their thing. So if that's them you're talking about, both parties are capable of doing that. I don't think there's going to be any juggling. Who's going to be juggling? Alberto clarified saying Dan Lin would have power to sidestep Gunn and greenlight DC films. All right, so the way I understood this, the more I looked into that, I'm not sure if what Dan Lin would be able to do would have anything to do with the DCU. Dan Lin, as head of Netflix Pictures, could would be able to do that anyway. You wouldn't be sidestepping them because they're not in each other's chain of command. If the chain of command stays consistent, and James Gunn will answer to whoever the head of Warner Brothers Studio is, whether it's Zazoff or whoever they place there, Dan Lin is a Netflix person. He's not in the chain of command as far as the lineage that goes from him to Sarandos. So if Dan Lin has access to the DC IPs, he can and should do his own thing. But I don't think that means that interferes with what James Gunn's doing. If Dan Lin was being in charge of like what Sandman is right now, or if Dan Lin wanted to do a Scarecrow show, then Dan Lin could do it, but he would be doing it for Netflix Pictures, whereas James Gunn will be doing it for Warner Brothers Pictures. That's how I read that. Until I get other clarification, that's what I'm going to go with. Like I said, this is all evolving. Yes, thank you. I need to do that myself. Please like, subscribe. Hold on yet. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that kind of stuff. Hit the alert bell so when, middle of the night, you can have me creeping in there with you. We've seen what happened to Marvel with their theatrical. That's two different. All right, two different things there. Two different things. Well, I'll finish it. Marvel said shows started to be homework. You're that's not a good example because one, it was one universe with the same demo. You're talking about one universe. All you're really doing with the MCU is giving people a television platform to watch the same stuff that they had already been watching since 2008. Those things were connected. What we're talking about with Netflix is not the same thing. If Dan Lin or somebody does something with Netflix, that would be an Elseworlds. It would not be connected to the DCU. From the way I understand it, and like I said, this can all be clarified, is Dan Lin is ahead right now. That's if he had access to DC IPs, he could do it now. But once he has access to DC IP, see, with MCU is all one universe, and the reason why you're saying homework because it was all one universe that led to their bigger screen stuff. With this situation, the stuff that Dan Lin and whoever's running Netflix proper is doing, most likely and appropriately will not be connected to what the DCU is doing. So you don't have to do the homework. If you don't like Netflix movies, you don't want to watch Netflix, anything, you don't have to be able to enjoy what's going on with the DCU, vice versa. So I think that's a different situation now. William, I don't like the idea of line size. Well, okay. We don't. Okay, so when you're talking about sidestepping, once this happens, that's not sidestepping. Because Dan Lin, as far as I know, is not going to be the DCU studio head. He's going to maintain his position as Netflix movies, Netflix Pictures. And unless they change things around, they have both said that Warner Brothers will run as Warner Brothers and Netflix will run as Netflix. So, Dan Lin would already have the power to do that with a DC IP. We just have to license it. The only difference between now and when the merger is done is that he will have access. He will no longer have to license it because it will be under the same umbrella. But it doesn't appear to me right now, as we speak right now, that Dan Lin is going to be sidestepping James Gunn to do DCU projects. It sounds like God, I almost said Dan Gunn. Dan Lin will have the authority and the access to the DC IPs to do his own thing within the purview, which is Netflix, because that's what his role is. He's the head of president of Netflix Pictures. So no, we're not talking about Hamada because Hamada was when he was doing stuff with the DCU, we weren't talking about two different universes. They carried over the DCU. When whatever's done on Netflix will more than likely be distinct. It will not be DCU. Whatever's done in DCU is distinct. It will not cross over unless they choose to collaborate. That's how I'm understanding it now. As this evolves, we'll adjust it. Them ones continue. Well, Sniffles continue his previous post. Them ones the audience who don't think about films enough to spare time to juggle to. They don't have to. And see, that's what I mean, Forth. You're not talking like me. Like, I'm going to watch all of this shit. But the average moviegoer is not us necessarily. Some of the guys who, I know a lot of guys who are Netflix junkies who don't go to the movie theaters anymore. For whatever reason. In fact, most of the people I know out here in Vegas that are Netflix people don't go to the movies that much anymore. They'll go for the super huge events, but for like a guy like me who goes on a regular basis and absorbs all this, that's two different people. So you have a Netflix audience that's not necessarily the people that are going to rush to a theater under any circumstances or are going to pay attention to what's going on the big screen because it's not their domain. It's not their territory. It's not in their wheelhouse. So me creating a Batman or whatever for them caters to them. Could they go to the movie theater? Sure, but they're making that choice. And if they're making that choice, then they are making the choice to juggle. And it's the same thing with I know a lot of moviegoers. I know a lot of people who fucking hate Netflix. Think Netflix is like the devil, so you're going to have the DCU for those people. Then you're going to have that overlap. You're going to have the guys like me. But it's not going to be reliant on guys like me. You're just catering to new demographics. And anybody who chooses to watch it all, you're coming into that territory, understanding what is going on. Everybody else can stay in their camps for right now. It's not the same, but there's an overload of content that starts to numb the audience. Not really. Like I just said, this isn't the MCU. Where everything was linear from A to B, you were on one line and that's it. You don't have to. If you're a Netflix head and that's how you consume your content, you've cut the cord. That's how you watch your content. And you're a wrestling fan. You watch Raw, and you watch a couple different shows, your local shows, your basic stuff on your regular channels. We're not talking about the guy who's even giving a thought about going to the movies that much anymore. That's the core demographic of Netflix. That's where they get their movie entertainment. So we're not overloading them because they ain't going to the movies anyway. And vice versa. And if you choose to partake in all this, you're making a decision. You're overloading yourself. The content is there. It is what it is. Let's see. You're breaking up. So it's hard when you're broken up your message, and I'm like reading it out already. Table once again. Nah, listen. Imagine it this way: I'm in my living room with this content, and I own another house down the street where you can go eat too. All right, I serve steak every night. Yeah, right. You're a vegetarian. You don't like steak, so you go down and eat at the other house. Now I got a couple of people who are greedy, like, hey, I like steak, and I want some of that cabbage too. They might come get a plate from me and come get a plate from them. But those people understand all that. But the people who want the steak and don't like vegetarian food, just say that's gross, hippies, they're just going to sit. They're going to sit where they are. The other people. So we have two distinct things, and that's why I kind of am starting to warm up to this merger because you don't have a studio that's trying to absorb everything. Netflix is really a content creator more than a studio. So they complement each other in that regard. And they actually have, I don't think the demographics are as monolithic as a lot of people are thinking. I think there are different audience. I really think Netflix is going to do what Netflix has been doing. And I think they're going to let Abdi and DeLuca and all those guys do that. That's how I think it's going to happen. Now, that's not true at all. Tone. The keyword here, Mighty Rex, is tone. What's your tone? We have conversations all the time with people who have different preferences when it comes to Batman. Some people like the fluff. Some people like the violence. Me. Some people like Batman beating the shit out of somebody just for the fucking sake of it. Some people like more the cartoon version. You have so many interpretations of Batman. You don't have to have story restrictions. You just have to have tone differences. That's all. And they both have to be good. That's it. And let the consumer pick it. Question: is Netflix the devil? What does that mean to describe their Satanists? A lot of people who are cinephiles who just love the theatrical experience, they look at Netflix like they are just like Jim Jones, drink the Kool-Aid type of thing. Dual universe is an experience. I like to see them try. I'd watch both. I'd watch both, but it's not necessary. Is all I'm saying. I'm gonna watch it all. I'm a fucking junkie when it comes to this shit. I think a lot of the people in this chat and in the stream will watch them all, but it's not reliant on that because there are some people who are going to watch even the Batman right now and are like, that's not for me. But they like Ben Affleck's Batman. There are people who watch Nolan's Batman. There's an audience out there for several things of this, and you have two different distinct platforms. Why not give it a shot? I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. They're like Pontius Pilate being chewed for eternity. I guess with the MCU is that there's too much content to catch up with the MCU, but having two universes, you can choose to skip projects on the one. Yeah, like I said, it's like when I grew up reading comics. The way when I grew up in the '80s, Detective Comics was written a certain way. Batman was written a different way. Brave the Bold, World's Finest, each of them had there were similarities. Batman was Batman no matter where he was. But there were different story types, different things, different tones. Sometimes you'd have, Detective Comics or whatever would have, actually Batman would have the Batman family in there, several issues. Then the detective would go like a year without any of that. And it just focused on one thing, actually focusing on the detective aspect. You could have one Batman title going to where it's one of his rogues galleries, people that, the Joker, the Penguin, all that. And then you could have Detective Comics where there's a villain, but he's not a known villain, like he's not a household name villain. It's Batman doing detective work to find out who this was, this particular serial killer for this particular, and that's a different tone. And they attract different audiences sometimes. Like me, I buy it all. But I know people who come in who have stopped collecting Batman because they outgrew the tone. But when Absolute Batman came out, they're all in, pun intended. So I think it's the fact that you have an audience, a distinctively different audience that's not necessarily beholden to what this audience is doing. And I think if you have the platforms to do it, Right back. All right. I'm going to give you guys a prime example of something I think this sets them up, and I brought this up before. You're going to have a situation to where a big name director, maybe an Academy Award winner, is going to come in and say, "I got this really kick-ass idea, but it doesn't fit with your connected universe over here. But you got this Netflix thing over here. Let's work on something." And guess what? Del Toro has a good relationship with him. You got an Academy Award winner under your roof already. Would you want to I want him telling comic book stories. I want him telling DC stories if the opportunity ever comes up. But I don't need it to disrupt what's going on in the DCU. Opportunities, guys. That's all I'm saying. Wow, it's been 41 minutes already? Damn. One will strictly lead to his solo series, while other ones reserved for the. Yeah, they do that too. Because the way you write Batman in Justice League, because of who he plays off of, is different when he's by himself. Sorry. I hate coughing on screen. I hate sneezing on screen too, so that's why I did that. So yeah, and like I said, that's basically it. I'm not saying make 1,000 of them, but if the opportunity arises and you can make something that fits your audience, if you're running Netflix, because the guy who's running Netflix is thinking about Netflix. The Dan Lin, the guy, the James Gunn equivalent of Netflix, it's not. I don't think they're going to cross over unless they want to. But Dan Lin has to look at his audience, the trends that his audiences go for, and he has to make something that goes along with that. Same thing's going to happen with whoever's running DCU. So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest with you. But hey, what you're saying right there, whether I agree with it or not, what you're saying is one of the exact reasons why I think this thing could work. Because you have people who, okay, for whatever I'm enjoying it, most of it, but you got a lot of people who is what's happening with James Gunn. It's just not for them, right? But I want their money. I want their patronage. And if they're a Netflix subscriber, I want them to stay. I want them that, if they're not going to watch the James Gunn stuff because of different tone, it's the same thing as me selling them a Justice League comic with Batman in it and selling them the Dark Knight Returns. I want it all. Just because I'm doing this thing over here, if you got money in your hand, I don't want you walking out with my money. I got two hands. I could take 2 bags of money. It's business. Let's do it. I don't, and I'm an old school comic nerd too. I grew up with them, but now, like I said, this is a unique situation to where they could be distinctly different, and that's the key. By the way, I think this will only work if there's a distinct tone difference in between what I'm seeing on Netflix and what I'm seeing on the DCU. Otherwise, it's just like why even do it? Why why yeah. So, yeah, see, here you go. I love Matt Reeves' Batman. I love that movie. It's my favorite overall Batman movie. Not my favorite Batman portrayal or actor, but my favorite overall. It is the most complete Batman movie. But guess what? It's not for you. You got another guy over here making stuff for HBO and the big screen. He might be for you. See, as a company owner, I don't want to lose out on you, Hal Jordan. I want your cash. I'm greedy. I want to pick your pockets, and I want to pick the DCU pockets. Got bills to pay. William, since you're such a big fan of DC doing multiple live-action universe concurrently, then why were you bashing Greg Berlanti? This is an excellent question, actually. This is an excellent question. I've answered this before, but there's no reason not to answer it again. Why are you bashing Greg Berlanti and Walter Amato when they gave you what you want? I think you're joking, but I'm going to answer it anyway because a brand new watcher may not get the context. For those of you who are brand new, I'm not the biggest fan of CW. Not that I hate the people that worked on it. Not that I hate the people that produced it and did it. The fact that here's the thing: if you're going to do this superhero thing, it cannot be low budget. You have to commit. You have to commit. And they just, in my opinion, the entirety of Warner of CW, WB, superhero stuff, they didn't commit, and they could have, and they just decided not to because they didn't want to spend the money, and that network wasn't making any money. The best thing that they did towards the end there was Superman and Lois, so they could have done it. They just chose not to. I listen, Greg Berlanti did the best he could with what he had, but I don't think that he should have had that little to deal with. If you're going to do superhero shit, do superhero shit. I always thought, and then I just didn't feel the commitment there from their backers, and that translates over to me looking at it like, and you're putting out CW stuff while we have comic book movies being made all throughout its existence. And why I can't expect the expectations of the CW to be what, Man of Steel or Avengers was, it's really hard to look at that stuff and then turn your head to everything else. So I go all in or get out. If you weren't going to spend the money, if you weren't going to make the investment, then why are you doing it? So that's how I feel. So if you're going to do multiple UFC, I don't think Netflix will put out a CW show. And there's a reason why people say, oh, it looks like something from a CW. With all due respect, what they're saying, whenever you hear people say that, you hear it a lot, they're saying it looks cheap. So I'm going to hold Netflix to the same standards. If you're going to do this, don't be nickel and diming. I don't need a Stranger Things budget. But if it's Batman, if it's the big cheeses, then you treat them that way. You treat them that way. And that's that. I just never felt that the CW ever did. I don't like Gotham either. And that's not CW. So there you go. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I listen, I do 3. Stagger them concurrently. You don't have to have them happen at the same time. Not because I think people are stupid and would get confused, but I think that when you're promoting something, you want the oxygen in the room to be towards the thing you're promoting. So you stagger it. So I personally wouldn't put 2 Batman or whatever, or Superman out in the same year. Not because I think the fan is too stupid. I believe fans are smarter than a lot of people give their credit for. But if I'm going through the promotion, especially somebody who promotes movies, that's a lot of bandwidth. You want that one movie to have the bandwidth to itself. And then the next year, flip-flop. There you go. So, yeah, we're going to have them. But I told you guys, like I said, I want a procedural Batman show. I know people love procedural shows, investigative shows. Look how long these investigative shows have been on the air on these networks. Some of them have been on the air for 20 years. People love that shit. I want a true detective Batman going through just doing this straight up strategic TV show type of thing. Have a fucking Robin if you want to, that goes places where old man Batman can't go into. There's all kinds of things that you could do, but that's just me. Have as many Batman as you want, but make sure they're all good. Because the first one that's garbage, then you're done. But if you give me, I don't care what the character is, if you give me multiple versions and they're all top tier, I'll watch them all. Well, I don't know what's going on with Brave and the Bold. So I don't know why it's being held up. I don't think that's necessarily being held up by each other, but I mean, that's fine if it is, because you want Brave and the Bold to have all the Batman bandwidth that year, so that nothing. You only want to put out another movie like that until it's like later on, as far as that goes. But as far as like 2 Batman movie, 1 year do one year do the other. And the way they're staggering shit now, it looks like we got a while away for both of them. As long as TV stays intact. See, I think that's dumb. And then the CW in the big screen had that dumb shit too, where they couldn't do certain things. And I think that's a horseshit mentality, in my opinion. Because let the CW use the big guns. The people who go to the movies weren't watching the CW, and the people who were watching CW weren't necessarily going to the movies. And if they were, they took on that burden. They had that rule in the mid-2000s I thought was really stupid. So, yeah. I don't think limited, because guess what? I'm not a big fan of the animation. You're not going to hurt me by putting all the Rose Gallery in the cartoon stuff. Not going to hurt me at all. That's a different audience. So, yeah, I just think that they didn't understand it. Oof. I'm going to go for another 10 minutes, but this coughing, although it's getting better, it doesn't sound better. I need to rest my throat for a little bit here. If I got what I wanted from DC, I would still watch Gun direct for more content. I would be something to watch still. I mean, that's a good point. Tubi for life. All right, but yeah, yeah. Dude, there was so much. If I were in charge of all this right now, I would have done something with the CW that could have been really, really epic. I would give first of all, I give it the budget. Whatever you do with this comic book stuff, give it the budget, please. Do not undercut the people that you are sending out there with a pick and save budget. That's not fair. You're asking them, even though I know it's not a fair comparison between the small screen and the movie, you got to do a lot better than they did. You got to come and lead a lot closer. You can do it because Superman and Lois was damn near cinema quality. That last year and a half of Superman and Lois was damn near cinema quality. So it could have been done. Oof, okay. William, do you think having two universes with Batman would attract money from each other as fans get their Batman fix in one universe that way? Well, that's going to be customer preference no matter what. There are going to be fans that prefer a Batman that they see on Netflix or DCU, and that's going to be the one that they want, and they may not want to watch. There's a lot of people who don't watch Matt Reeves. Just had somebody in the chat. Matt Reeves is not for them. But maybe they like Ben Affleck, or maybe they're going to like this one that's coming up. You got a lot of people who have. I mean, look what happens when it gets to Superman. How many diverse people? There are a lot of people who don't like the James Gunn movie, and there's a lot of James Gunn people who don't like Man of Steel. I want their money. I know I have a demand there, so I don't think that see, if you have the demand, I don't think it's going to detract money. Your people who are going to watch them both are going to watch them both no matter what. So they're going to get their money, but you're not losing the money off of people who don't like what James Gunn's selling. You have an audience for them as well. I'm greedy. Give it all to me. Fans continue their Batman fix one universe not needed to see another Batman they don't like, then they don't have to see it. But there are going to be people that, if they created a Batman, and we're just using Batman because that's the main one for me. But there are going to be people, no matter what the character is, that are going to have a preference. And one of these characters that you're presenting on both events is going to be closer to one preference or the other. And then you're going to have the median geek like me who's going to watch them all. So I think they'd be fine. Once again, key to all this is tone. The same difference between Swamp Thing prior to Vertigo and Swamp Thing without Vertigo, the way it's being written. There's a tone in Vertigo Comics, DC Black Label, that makes that DC fan a different DC fan than the mainline DC fan. There are people right now buying Absolute Batman that are not buying anything else DC. So you have, and yet DC Comics right now are doing fine, and Absolute Batman is leading the way. So you have to have your marketing people and your people that look up all your analytics and all that data and create a show for them. It doesn't necessarily have to appeal to the DCU fans because it's not for them necessarily. This is for your Netflix audience to keep them subscribed. And then the other shows have a different mission. I'd say take the Batman animated series, the most important classic episodes, make them R-rated. Okay, so now you got me interested. Because my issues with Batman the animated series, but if you do that, I'm there for that. I'm interested. You got my ears perked for that one. Batman was greenlit during the height of DCU with the intent of sharing continuity. Was it? Yeah, but there were different circumstances. It was because it turned out it was supposed to be a Ben Affleck movie with his Batman, and then it got changed because the whole mess in his marriage, all kinds of shit was happening. I don't know if its original intention was to be it was original intention was it to be Ben Affleck's Batman, and then he bowed out of the project, and then Matt Reeves went a different way. So now we'll see. And like I said, what Matt Reeves did worked. So be right back. Oh, that was a heavy sneeze. Oof. Just took my own head off. Ah, Jesus Christ. All right, just for you, Hal Jordan. Even though that I buzz that out of contempt, I know he's thinking about it. I know James Gunn is going to give me that goddamn monkey, fucking goofy twins. All right, where are we at? That's another good idea. Listen, I'm not into the K-pop thing, but I understand its impact. If you're going to do Wonder Pins, that's actually a good idea. Wow, couple good ideas for you tonight, Fourth. What the hell? You all right, man? Still dumbfounded how Netflix gathered the money to buy WB. It's like they just got a little. No, well, the reason why they were able to do that is because they pull in $4 billion a month streaming. That's a lot of money. And when you make that kind of cash, that rate that fast, people will loan you money because they know you're good for it. Right now, they operate at a $12 to $14 billion deficit on a monthly basis. But the people who have that debt out on them are not worried because they know their money is safe. And they're willing to give them more. Netflix had once Netflix committed to this, Netflix didn't have any problems getting that money. $4 billion a month. $4 billion a month. So that means they're making as much on their streaming service as Disney makes from their parks. That's a lot of money. And when you're making that kind of money, people are going to be like, I want to be part of that. Because if the day ever came to where Netflix had to cash out everybody, they would be able to pay that money back if they had to. So they had no problems getting the money. It's like 5 years. 5 years, I think. $100 says that Adam Sandler would do a Night at the Museum style movie where he lives at a Netflix house and all their IP comes left at once. And if there's an audience, I wouldn't watch that, but maybe there's an audience for it. Yeah, a month. A month. Not a quarter. Not a year. A month. Not selling things. Not the opera. Just from their clientele alone. A month. That's staggering. I was watching Campia, and they were doing that and that. I think it was Ray from Flightcast. He was on the. You did the math too, and he's $4 billion a month. Wow. All right, guys. We got an hour. I got a little bit more voice left before I need to take some Theraflu, lie down, and be ready to run my mouth later on today. Hello, Duckman. You wouldn't watch Adam Sandler solve crime? Nah. He's another one. I put him in the Jim Carrey category. I wish he would do more dramatic stuff. I think he could do. I've seen him do it. I wish he would do more. And I know people got their preferences, and maybe they have their preferences for doing certain things, but I think those are like there's a handful of actors that have done primary comedy for most of their careers where I think they'd be knockouts as dramatic actors. He's one of them. All right, how you doing? How are you feeling, Clint? I feel like shit. How are you? All right, guys. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with this. I'm open to all of this, to be honest with you. And I know Paramount's still out there lurking, saying they're going to do Hostile Turk. Listen, guys. I'm tired of the Ellison family. I'm just tired of them. I never really liked them to begin with. Okay, I got my reasons. That letter the other day. That letter should have been like the opening of a Saturday Night Live cold open. I can't believe intelligent people put that letter together and sent that to people, to other adults. So you heard me say this before, anybody but Paramount. So I'm happy there. Are there hurdles to this deal? Yeah, but they'll be met. They'll be met. Everybody's got lawyers. People forget just because Paramount might threaten you with lawyers. Warner Brothers and Netflix have those same lawyers too, and they probably have better lawyers because once again, they got $4 billion a month to throw around. So there you go. Yeah, I'd like to see him in a horror film as well. I would like to see him in different stuff. That's all. You actually feel more gooder all day? Yeah, I've been feeling like shit, dude. I have been fighting the allergy drain. Oh, you're flying the feelings, guys. I didn't have that luxury, but yeah, like I said, I'm fighting the war to keep the head sinuses from becoming a chest issue. So, like I said, using all the weapons at my disposal. All right, so anybody got anything else for me? Any other questions? This was your time, so that's why I answered so many merger questions because that's what you guys wanted to ask me. You can ask me about other things too, but this was your time. When I say open topic, I mean open topic. I got second. Yeah. I was embarrassed for them. Sound like a bunch of whiny little bitches. That's what they sound like. Nah. I mean, I don't look down on anybody who smokes weed. I don't listen. I look down on nobody. It's just never been for me. I don't look down for people who smoke. All the smoking cigarettes annoys me, but I don't. If you drink, as long as you're not hurting anybody, don't drink and drive. Your moderation and 5 minutes. I just don't do it. I have lived the straight edge lifestyle my entire life, and it's just a preference of me. I don't get high. I've never gotten high. I've never even tasted alcohol. I've never smoked a cigarette. Never shot up anything. Caffeine and Benadryl. Those are the two highest things I've ever gone, and I plan to stay that way. It's just I've lived this entire life without ever needing them. I've always needed to be in my stable right mind to be able to react to things around me. Whether it be the military or my own business, I've been doing all of that. I've been in retail or doing something that needed my full attention my entire adult life since I was a teenager. So I just never saw reasons for me to do it. But anybody else, man, do it. Do what makes you happy as long as it's legal and you're not hurting anybody. Not high. And that's only based on season 4. I didn't like season 4. I thought Anthony Starr was a standout in season 4. I thought he's like the only character that really stood out to me like that. I guess he always does, but even more so than the other ones. When it wasn't about him, I kind of lost interest in it. So I don't have high expectations for the Boys season finale, but since I'm setting the bar that low, then maybe they'll surpass it. Maybe I wouldn't know what a contact guy was, so maybe I get contact. Dude, just walking down, downstairs sometimes when everybody's smoking that weed. When I got my door open and I can't even, open the door because I got, the car show people smoking all of the weed. So, like I said, I don't even do, like I said, prescriptions and stuff. That's it. I don't take any recreational anything. So, hello. Now we have 2 Aussies up in here. Now that I know you don't follow soccer, what other sport don't you follow? Golf. If Tiger Woods ain't involved, and he hasn't been involved for a while, I don't watch it. NASCAR, any type of NASCAR, any type of IndyCar, horse racing, bowling. Okay. Basically, it comes down to, here's my sports: hockey, NBA, Major League Baseball, and then football. That's it. Outside of that, rugby, anything else outside of those, I don't watch. And if you want to call wrestling a sport, then that, I mean, primarily. But yeah, that's it. I don't watch soccer because I can't get into it. Anything to do with a horse, I'm not down. Horse racing, cricket, whatever the other stuff is. Volleyball, don't care. Yeah, that's it. The major ones, and that's it. And that's because most of those sports are because I grew up in a city that had them all. I grew up before I knew what basketball was. I knew what the Lakers were. Before I knew what a baseball bat was, I knew what the Dodgers were. So I grew up with those, and then the Kings were right there. So If I grew up in a city that had those things at the time I was growing up, might have been a difference, but no, that's it. Paul 4804. If Netflix I can't talk now. Too many X's. If Netflix left HBO Max as is and offered it to their existing customers for $7 a month, that would be another one. Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do, by the way. People are like, well, HBO is going to go away. No. See, all this stuff that people are thinking that's going to go away, I'm looking at that. I'm like, that's just throwing money away. It cost you to consolidate that. You're already going to have to do redundancy and all that. That's a merger 101. But the things that make Warner Brothers money now make you money without you having to create an infrastructure. Oh, shit, that was bad. So, yeah, I guarantee that's what they're going to do. Yeah. Legalize weed. It's $2.1 billion. That Boys trailer, when was all this shit all drama? Dicks, assholes, people coming out of assholes. People going into assholes on boom, not a job. Yeah, literally a guy coming out of an ass. That's not. He's not referencing something that did not happen. I still can't fucking believe that happened. Show. Netflix has no censors. Netflix does not give any fucks about what they do in this shit. The Boys is living, breathing through. The shit Homelander does alone. Okay. I like Game of Thrones. It was once groundbreaking, became a formula. I don't know if I agree with that. They took some shortcuts in those last couple of seasons that I didn't appreciate, but House of the Dragon made up for that. Now you have something that's not formulaic and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So give that a try, buddy. You won't guess what sport that I actually was really good at when I was in high school. I mean, I do some hockey. I haven't had a chance to really keep up on that, and I'd probably kill myself now. But the sport I played in high school, see if you guys can guess what it is. It's not the one you would think I would play, but it's a sport I grew up with. So, table tennis, I can watch tennis. Table tennis, if there's nothing else on. Yeah, it's gonna be like 71 next week. So I'm like, the hell. My body doesn't know what to do. But I told myself, if it kills me, as long as there's no rain. And we ain't gotten them for a while. So William, the weather has shut me up right now. Biggest mistake last season was killing off Tech Knight without showing his suit of armor. Yeah, it's going to go all out because it's over. And I don't know how consistently they're going to come to the books because they've gone and done their own thing. But I'm wondering if they're going to come back around and do something similar to how it ends there. But who knows? Cornhole? No, it's not it. All right, guys, we got I'd say about 10 more minutes with me before you won't be able to hear me anymore. Yeah. The sport I played in high school is the sport I watched religiously. In fact, I never talk about that sport on this channel. I just realized that I've never talked about this sport. I lettered in high school in this sport. And I never talk about it on it because it's really the interest in it is not as where it was. It's a personality driven sport, and we just haven't had it. No, I've had darts thrown at me, but I don't do darts. I don't have that kind of aim coordination. Yeah, I would have drowned in swimming. I didn't really, to be honest with you, I didn't really learn how to swim decently until I got into the Army and had to. So. see what we got here. By the way, I got a giant burrito I got to eat too. Lacrosse, no. You're in the right culture, I guess, but not lacrosse. If you look at my Slee Stack message, it's just not a sport that you would think of me playing, but I did, and I was actually pretty decent at it. Yes, I can eat. I can eat. I'm not like Joey Chestnut. That guy makes me sick. Eating all those hot dogs, I'm not him. But I can eat. I am a professional. I can professionally order food and I can professionally eat it. That's for sure. Yeah, she got lawsuits. When we were kids, no, you didn't even use that big round ball with that bounce boink. We didn't use that one. We used a fucking volleyball, or we would take that one volleyball that was on the tether ball. Remember that? And we would nail your ass. And you didn't say shit or you're a pussy. William is retired, but no, I would break my neck as a luchador. I could do half the shit that they do. If I'm a professional shit talker, that you are. I can attest. We're going to go to about 1. Field hockey? No. You're in the right atmosphere, Aaron. No, I did that for a little bit. Then I realized I didn't like running. And I reacclaimed that I didn't like running when I had to run in the Army. Damn, it killed me. But no, not for sport. I'm a cheese chaser in England. What do you? How much weed did you smoke or take? Yeah, he's a pilot. He's a professional pilot. Test back here. Superman and Lois was a CW show. It had better writing. Yeah, writing was. Listen, Titans. Everything bad people want to say about Titans, I can't really dispute. It's a guilty pleasure. I love that show though. Everything that people want to say about Titans is true. It's a guilty pleasure. Tag football? Nah, we didn't have tag football. Get buffalo and even with a bit of muscle, you'd be the world's strongest convicts in 2000. Pretty big. I mean, I'm 6'2", 250, but yeah, there you go. No. I am a keep the shirt on guy. Okay, what else you got? You're going in the right direction, Aaron, but you went from you need to come back towards the other ones you're talking about. You're closer there. Still waiting on my interview date with Scott Steiner. I hope that happens sooner than later. It's good. I'd love to bring that to you guys. Let's see if there's any. Connect. There you go. All right. Let's see. Steve, I don't look like that guy. I do not look like that guy. When I didn't have my mustache, and people used to come and say I look like Mike Tyson. I'm like, what are you guys on, dude? I don't like anybody. It's like a sleeve stack. That's what it looks like. Let's see here. Waifu? What? I don't know what that is. Enlighten me for. Rugby? No. We didn't have rugby in high school. It's a sport that's in high school. It's a sport that's in high school. We didn't have rugby in high school. We had football, and I didn't like get hit by those schools. But rugby is in the same atmosphere. No, I was not in band. Band is not a sport, but I was not in band. Tennis. It was tennis. I played tennis in high school. Pretty good. I took tennis lessons. I took professional tennis lessons. I played in tennis tournaments. It's pretty good, you know. It wasn't the best, but I got good at it. My dad taught me how to play. I played him. He could, yeah, tennis. Tennis was it. Played tennis all 4 years in high school. And I religiously watched tennis. I don't watch it as much now, but I grew up in the 80s watching tennis, watching Ivan Lendl, watching McEnroe, watching, Connor Agassi, his rise, Pete Sampras, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal. I watched pretty much every one of his matches, even when I was deployed. I would watch the French Open. Tennis was my actual sport I played. Not my favorite sport overall, but it was one I played. Growing up on an Air Force base, you have tennis courts right there. I mean, I literally lived over the fence, Norton Air Force Base. There's the tennis court, and it was for on an Air Force base, you just walk up and take a racket and start playing. Somebody's always there. So, tennis was a game. No, shot put. I'm not nearly that strong. Nope, not polo. It was tennis. No. Now, if you'd have gone in the actual military, I would have been proud of you. But ROTC is kind of, we kind of looked at those guys kind of funny. Yeah, you can watch the store from the outside, the locked door with the alarms on. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, tennis, I can watch tennis forever. Like, I would watch the Australian Open. I still do. And it's on a different time zone. On the French Open, the Wimbledon. I watched them all. I mean, I would watch them all. I mean, tennis, I could tell you, for a time, I could tell you every major champion from every one of the Grand Slam events all the way until I stopped watching it. Once Serena Williams kind of retired, I just lost interest in it because a bunch of people were coming up that I did not connect with, did not know. So. Yeah, Roger Federer, Serena Williams. You had Novak Djokovic, who was just up there with them. Rafael Nadal was up there with them, 14-time French Open champion. I loved watching tennis. I mean, like I say, my timing and everything is scheduled in the way, like I said, a lot of the big names are gone, so I've kind of drifted away, but that was the one I played. Yeah, during the 90s, you had Pete Sampras, you had Andre Agassi, you had Tim Courier, you had a lot of different people. You had Jennifer Capriati. In the late 90s, that's when the Williams sisters came along. She won her first one in 1999 U.S. Open. So, yeah, the tennis in the 90s, it was hot. And Agassi was a big part of that. Yeah, there's a lot of black people that, tennis. I mean, Arthur Ashe, first black man to win Wimbledon. Althea Gibson, first black woman to win Wimbledon. So the black people played it. And a lot more black people played it after the Williams sisters got involved. They did for tennis what Tiger Woods did for golf. Because black folks were not watching golf. They weren't playing golf on that level. When Tiger Woods came in, it shifted the focus to a sport that really, I mean, even Augusta, the National Club in Augusta had a very racy history with race. Tiger Woods won his first major there. And he became part of the topic. Serena Williams, they came from Compton, California. So to see their story brought a lot of people of color into tennis. Not a lot of people in general to tennis, but a lot of people from. And then you started seeing a lot of tennis programs invest a lot into inner cities because they knew they had athletes there. Yeah, same. Like I said, I had enough to play tennis, but like baseball, no, no fucking way, dude. I can't even come anywhere near the ball when I'm swinging. Yeah, yes, you did. Yeah, Nadal and Federer went at it for a decade. They traded off Grand Slams, and in 2008, Wimbledon's one of the great Wimbledon's ever done. Yes, that is where the U.S. Open plays, and then you have an arena, Rod Laver Arena, in Australia, in Melbourne. Yeah, and that's unfortunate because a lot of things that I did in when I was growing up weren't typical black people things, the stereotypes. I'm supposed to listen to rap and R&B all the time, hip hop. That's all I'm supposed to listen to. But that didn't go. You see how that goes. Um, you know, the cool black kids when I was in junior high and high school weren't reading comic books and doing D&D and hanging around with the nerds. I did it. Um, there were a lot of people of color on my tennis team in high school, but professional wise, it wasn't the same. But I did it anyway. Yeah, it's you got to find your group of people to evolve with. It's not going to be your entire ethnic group sometimes because I get cross-eyed people when they come into the store and I got fucking Megadeth playing. They're looking at me like I grew goat horns, but you know what? You got to do what you enjoy and surround yourself with people that click with you. That's all. Sometimes it'll be other black folks. Sometimes it won't be. Mine was at zero. I mean, I did everything that you just weren't all the unspoken rules, and I'm like, I just didn't, you know. I went where my ear and my eye told me to go. When I heard music that I liked, I went. That's the direction I went into. I growing up where I grew up, it's just there were so many ways to hear so many different things that's if I liked it, I listened to it, and I didn't really care about the social stigma that came with it. I didn't understand it, to be honest with you. I knew that people thought I was strange, but I never knew what for. People think I'm strange now. There's so many things that I was like, I've never really, what is it? So, but when I would wear my t-shirts, my Metallica t-shirts, people would look at me like I was crazy. But what ended up happening though is, guess what happened? The other people who were wearing those Metallica and those Megadeth shirts came over and we sat down, we talked, and I had Vietnamese people sitting with us, I had white people sitting with us, I had Mexican people sitting with us, and we would play that music. Lunchtime we would play that D&D. I wasn't good at it, but I was there watching and reading with them. We just that's how I got through. I just surrounded myself. That's how I get through now. I surround myself with a community of people that understand what I do. Fuck everybody else. That's really nothing I can really say about that. Yeah, we've infiltrated just about every sport. We're everywhere now. Thankfully, we're starting to get out of that era. Yeah, it's still around, but you see the tolerance for that kind of shit with each generation. You have a percentage of generation of young people that are always going to be crazy because sometimes they come from bad upbringing. But the majority of it, the millennial, everybody's looking at this. They're looking around and they're like, "This isn't cool. This isn't cool," and they don't hold on to the same stigmas and hatred that maybe their fathers or grandfathers did. So with any hope, as each generation goes on, it's less and less of a priority. You should, if you listen, if you're black, be black. If you're Jewish, be Jewish. If you're Muslim, be Muslim. Be proud to be all those things. And that doesn't mean that you got to stay in a box. Do what makes you feel good. Hey, there are worse things you could have been, Clint. I'm not alone though, because when I go to wrestling matches, guess who else there? There's other people that have belts. I love my belts though, and the motherfuckers are heavy too. In fact, the one behind me is like actually one of the lighter ones. But I mean, my belts are so beautiful. I mean, if I'm going to see a guy who holds the same belt and I want an autograph, I got to bring it with me. There's Okada. Yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a freak, but I'm having fun. So there you go. All right, let's see. I like Nirvana. I didn't like him as much at the beginning. Unfortunately, I became more of a fan after he passed away because the problem with Nirvana for me is they played the fuck out of him because they were the it band at the time. They were or the grunge bands that were out there that weren't getting as much playtime. But I learned to appreciate Nirvana, in the mid '90s, especially after he passed. Um, my parents a little bit, but we moved. They grew up in the Motown era, and they grew up in New Jersey. Once they moved us out to LA, or once, well, I was born in Berlin, but I grew up. I spent my first moments in the United States after I was 2 years old was in LA. And my dad and they knew the culture. They knew the diverse culture that they had moved us to. So my dad would crack a joke every now and then, but they never ostracized me. They never stopped me from listening to it. They didn't buy it for me. I had to go out and buy it myself. I mean, if I wanted to listen to hip hop or Motown or Epic or anything like that, the old man had everything. But it just wasn't. It just that it didn't appeal to me. I mean, especially with the MTV era coming in when I was like 6, 7 years old, it's just once I started hearing things like I think some of the earliest shit that I heard that I could actually identify as that's that person was Heaven and Hell, Black Album. One of the first metal songs I ever heard was Children of the Sea. You don't go back from that. Once you hear Def Leppard, once you hear Photograph, once you hear certain things, your mind is still forming, but it's forming around that. And they knew that. They knew that MTV was there for us. They knew that the radio stations were different than if they were growing up. So they never really had a problem, and it never really affected my demeanor or anything. So I never had really an issue. Yes, tomorrow is it, or today is it? My dad and I were the only black ones in my family. My bio mom is black, but I don't talk to her. My stepmom, since I was 3, was Hispanic. So all my aunts and uncles were grandparents. Okay, were Hispanic. Huh? We knew that about you. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm starting to get tired and the coughing has stopped. So I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that break. I will see you all this evening, 6 p.m. We're going to be live with it. We're going to do it live. Welcome to Derry, episode 7. And then a couple hours later, we're going to do our normal weekend wrap up. And I'm going to, once again, I stopped talking about the merger stuff when there was nothing to talk about, but we still have an evolving situation. If we have more news, we'll talk about it. But there's a lot of questions that you guys have. I'm not an expert of any of these things. I'm just using common sense and knowledge of prior mergers and what they're saying to try to answer the questions as best as I can. But a lot of your guys' comments are bringing to the table or are part of that process. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the 45th anniversary of Flash Gordon. We're probably going to have a musical topic tomorrow because we didn't have a Saturday overnight show. I don't have any wrestling to talk about. Nothing really big happened. I know Ring of Honor had a show, but don't really broadcast that one. We'll talk about it. Welcome to Derry. Instead of talking about it a lot during the actual broadcast, we'll carry that over. So we'll have a good show tomorrow. You have a good 3 or 4 hours with me tomorrow. So I'm going to head off to bed. And yes, I do like scorpions. I love scorpions. Yeah, I grew up loving the scorpions. Let's see. Still Loving You. There's a song that they made in the 90s, which is the first time I was able to buy my um, um, own tapes. Tapes. Oh my god. What's this? I can't remember the name of the song, but I can sing it. It's about Winds of Change. Winds of Change. They released that song as the Berlin Wall was falling and the Soviet Empire was falling, and they were writing that song, and they released that song in their '99 album or 1990 album, Winds of Change. Take me to. So yeah, Rocking Like a Hurricane, Still Loving You. I'm a big fan of the Scorpions. Let's see. I will try, Aaron. I will be doing it from the store. I don't have the best internet, but I will try to do it from the store. And as long as the internet holds up and it doesn't keep jamming, we can do it. I don't have any objection to doing it. It's just depending on where. If I'm here, it's different because I have the best internet of all my situations is here. Um, at the at the store, there's an issue, several issues. So yeah, I'll try. Yeah, to do the week at night. Yeah, I'm going to sing. All right, guys, have a good morning. Have a safe football NFL morning, and I will see you all along with the co-host and the people from Patreon and all that. We'll see you at 6 p.m. Please like, subscribe, and we are streaming late night, and you know what that means. These are the times when we're late night. We have all the factors. We have late night. We have the holidays. A lot of these thoughts, a lot of these damaging thoughts dance around in people's heads right at the time we're talking right now. So if you're watching this at it live or you're watching this at a decent hour, no matter what, these 3 digits could save your life. Maybe it's yours. Call 988, press 1 to reach the military crisis line. Doesn't matter if you're military, they're going to get you to somewhere. I just bought this one up because, I'm Army and it was the coolest one. But if they're not going to turn you away, get the help. Get the help. This is the hardest time of the year for people. And you don't have to go through it. There are other people that have seen the light. They've come out the other end, and you can too. So, with that, I bid you all a good night. As soon as I can find the button in the show. Let's see if StreamYard actually does what I pushed it to do. That's Duran Duran.